We now want to jump to Ramy Inocencio with a look at the international reaction to the death of Dick Cheney. Ramy is at our London bureau. And Ramy, as we've been discussing, Dick Cheney internationally is seen as the figure behind the Iraq War and the interventionist policies of the U.S. post 9/11. Considering that, what is some of the larger reaction you're seeing?
Sure. Well, we are, in fact, waiting for international reaction to trickle out. But no doubt there will be across the Middle East and around the world, because Vice President Dick Cheney had so much of an impact, so much of an international footprint during his time in office. The words that are associated with him around the world, from defense, as the Secretary of Defense, to war and the war on terror, to the U.S. military deployment in the efforts to nation build or to topple what he and the U.S. government saw as authoritarian regimes. That is what Dick Cheney, his brand, his legacy will be known as, will be known as we talk about his time and his life and his career over the course of today. But of course, as we've been talking, Vice President Cheney will forever be tied to the Iraq War by his supporters. They saw this as a kind of American strength after the 9/11 attacks, but by critics as a failure, and also steeped in a lie about weapons of mass destruction. He wanted to push the doctrine of preemptive action, toppling Saddam Hussein, talking about those weapons of mass destruction. Of course, we know that that was never found, and so that is a legacy that will continue to follow Dick Cheney for history. In addition, we have to talk about Afghanistan, because after 9/11, Vice President Cheney saw that as the next stage, as the next chapter, the next country to look to try to topple the Taliban, and then to dismantle basically the home of Al-Qaeda. Looking ahead, 20 years later, we now know that the Taliban, while they were pushed out, mostly. We know that they have now basically come back into power. So that also calls into question the attempts from Vice President Cheney during his time in office to exert U.S. military power overseas. So looking to the Middle East, obviously a very, very strong imprint that has a lasting effect more than 20 years, 30 years later, since he was in office.
That's right. And we know that he was a critic of Vladimir Putin and Russia's democratic backsliding, and certainly his opinions shaped U.S. policy. Ramy Inocencio will continue to check in with you and get more reaction to this news throughout the day. Thank you very much.